Well, welcome and thank you for attending today. We're going to talk about some different retrofit things on some of our products. I'm Larry Rambo, sales application engineer with Purkeys, and today also we have Jimmy Fielding, also a sales application engineer. Between the two of us, we have over 60 years at Purkeys. We spend lots of time, calling on fleets, training, support, just any way we can help customers with our products, and sometimes not even our products, just help in general. We love the trucking industry and try to give back. And that's kind of what spurred on today's webinar. Again, we call on fleets all over the U.S. And Canada, and obviously, no surprise that some kind of uncertain times. Um, you know, uh, People are holding on to equipment a lot longer, and why is that? Obviously, we've heard about tariffs. Uncertainty of one is what's it going to cost me, and by the time it comes in, what's it going to cost me. So fleets have been a little slow to buy equipment this year. Um, New emissions coming. Do I want to spend money and buy heavy now, or do I wait? A lot of uncertainty there. Obviously, costs with tariffs, a lot of these things is impacting things. Uncertainty of the market. People, do I want to go out and buy more equipment right now when I don't know how everything's going to be? And the other thing we've heard several customers make comment on, especially in the leasing side, is customers have lost business, or some have even gone out of business. So now they have equipment that was designed or outfitted a certain way that may not fit another customer. Um, with that, that's kind of the need of it. But what can be gained? And again, this comes really from conversations we've had with customers that, and some of it's kind of funny that some customers don't realize all the things we have. Oh, I didn't know you did that. Or when we're talking about some of these systems or upgrading, retrofitting, is, well, I didn't know we could buy direct, or I didn't know we could get this, could get that. So that was the whole idea of putting this together, is show some of these things that are available. And most of what we're showing is something that was asked for by a customer. And so if it's not quite what you want or need, there's probably a solution we can come up with.
Yeah.
But some of it is people are holding on to equipment longer. I've got many customers in the beverage business that they've got trailers that are 20 years old. So they look at some of the older stuff they bought, even 10 years ago. It's a much different spec than what they have now. It's like, yeah, do I want to keep trying to, fix this? Should I upgrade it? Some of those are, yeah, we still offer parts for that system, but because the volume is so low, you can almost upgrade cheaper than buying a couple of the replacement parts. Or hey, we've got this system. Can I upgrade and get this new nose box, or upgrade it to some other things? So we're going to go over those in some detail. And first, we're going to kick it off. We're going to talk about solar, and I'm going to let Jimmy run with that.
Yeah. Thank you, Larry. So yeah, the longer and longer you hold on to equipment, it's never going to be that new truck or that new trailer anymore. The cables are going to wear out, connections are going to get corrosion build up. So not only is maintenance of that equipment, but retrofitting to upgrade to the different options to kind of overcome some of those challenges with older equipment. Solar is a great way to help. I've heard from a lot of fleets where they say, solar is a great application for vehicles that do just sit. Well, my equipment never sits. At some point, it does sit, and solar is a great way to add additional charging to whatever battery it is that you're charging. It's free energy once it is installed. This is ideal for applications when they do sit for long periods of time, without an alternator or something else charging those batteries. And there's multiple applications, for a liftgate application, or even a heater application. That battery sits way up there, high on that trailer. Typically, that battery is not maintained very well. You've even heard of HR issues because you have to climb up a ladder just to maintain that battery. So solar is a great way to provide some supplemental charging to whatever battery it is that you are trying to keep charged. And when you're talking about retrofitting as well, a lot of times it's a little difficult to find an installer.
Oh yeah.
That's some of the challenges we see when we're talking to fleets is who's gonna put it on for me, and that's something we've got a lot of channel partners that we work with. If that's something that you're looking at doing or wanting to explore that option, we can help with that. Just simply reach out to us and we can work together if that's an option that you want to explore. Some of the applications, truck, adding hours to your APU runtime, all the just the parasitic loads and all the cab, creature comforts in the cab, they drain those batteries. And solar is a great way to extend or reduce the amount of time that APU has to run. Liftgates is another very common one that we work with. Again, it's all about opportunity charging, increasing that the charging of those liftgate batteries. Batteries don't have a conscience. That if you're cycling them at a less than 100% state of charge, it's really that depth of discharge that's going to kill those batteries. So, utilizing solar is a great way to really get that keep that tank full. Reefers, another good one, utilizing or ensuring battery life, while saving fuel. And so kind of going through some of the options, if you want to look at exploring solar, we've got a wider range of different options for you. We have a single, what we call a solar dart system. It's a single 50-watt panel. Could be used for a reefer application. I've got fleets using it for a heater application. Really could be used for charging any battery. But it comes with a 50-watt panel, multiple different adapters if you just want to clip it onto a battery, plug it into a cigarette lighter to kind of maintain some of the parasitic loads of that vehicle. It comes with mastic or without mastic. And mastic meaning the adhesive on the back. So just a small setup, 50-watt panel to kind of take care of some of those really small loads.
Yeah, one of the big ones on that is reefers. That's say reefers and heaters. That heaters obviously don't run a whole lot in summertime. Not real need for it.
Right.
So they sit for months and months. And either I had one customer that was actually pulling batteries and would bring them all in and charge them, which is good. You're not buying batteries, but that sure is a lot of wasted labor.
Yep.
Then the flip side of it, reefer a lot of times doesn't run a whole lot in winter, or I've got some customers that only run reefer occasionally. Well, the amount of tracking and everything else we've put on reefers with only one Group 31 battery, it doesn't take long to zap one of those things pretty quick. So,
yeah. Very true. So we got for the trailer side, if you're looking to keep liftgate batteries charged, you can do a single 110-watt panel add-on kit. Comes with a 50-foot harness, 110-watt panel, fairly easy to install.
Hardest part's routing the harness.
Yeah, that's really the hardest part is routing the harness. Stick the panel down, route your harness, and then mount a controller inside the the liftgate battery box. But that's a great way to get some extended charge time to those liftgate batteries. You can even for a tractor application, same thing. We're simply charging a battery. But the same 110-watt panel comes with a little bit shorter of a harness, 25-foot harness. And we've got multiple configurations for this as well. But a good way to really kill or eliminate some of the parasitic loads on a tractor, and even charge those batteries even further. The key, again, the key to all of this is to cycle those batteries close to 100% state of charge. That's where you're really going to get the life out of your batteries. the life out of your components when you're talking about a trailer application with a liftgate. And the older and older it gets, the harder it is to keep the batteries charged, and the more damage you could be doing to those components. This is just showing you a triple panel solar kit. 310-watt panels, solar control on our 50-foot harness. And we have many other sizes and configurations available.
And since we build everything in-house, we can do these custom to make them as plug and play as possible. One of the things that we learned a long time ago is, whether it's shop employees or outside vendors that are doing installs, the more we can do with that kit to make it a plug and play,
yeah,
the less time it takes to do an install. So, again, many different configurations, different kits. The one we're talking about right now with the 3-panel, that was, designed as a special, plug and play to make it as easy as possible, where we're actually charging pallet jacks in conjunction with liftgate batteries, which we'll get into a little more on that system later on. But again, there's kind of off the shelf, normal kits, but there is not a cookie cutter here. This will fix all your problems. One thing you got to keep in mind with solar is, solar only works when the sun's out.
Yep.
And depending upon time of day, direct sunlight, it's not always going to get 100%. So you got to look at, if you're trying to offset a parasitic, you may have to have 3 times as much solar, because that parasitic's there 24 hours a day. So it only works, maybe 8 hours a day. So, we go in and try to do, measurements that's, if we don't fix it, you don't put enough solar on, you don't have a dead truck on Wednesday. Now it's a dead truck on Thursday or Friday. So we got to look at it, make sure it's the right system. And somebody had a question on the size of the panel. There's many different ones, even though, we're showing these. There's many different configurations we can get. There's, square ones fairly close to this. There's more rectangular. Excuse me. There's also some very long, skinny ones.
Yeah.
And we've got custom ones that may fit rooftops or hood tops. Depends, again, how many watts and what we're trying to do. One thing that's kind of neat too when we talk about solar, where we started off on this road. Years ago, our first product we didn't even mention on here, just because parasitics have gotten so high, it's you're kind of limited where you can put it. But we started off with a 20-watt panel. We called it the Solar Dash, and the name came from, guess where we put it? On the dash of the truck. It was really designed for, like dealerships with brand new trucks.
Yep.
It could offset the parasitics of just the truck by itself. It got a little iffy when you got into a fleet that added, tracking systems, communications, CBs, all those things. Obviously the parasitics go up, and the 20-watt, may or may not be able to do it. But the whole idea, and even if you looked in the DART slide, is that's why we gave eyelets and clips and cigarette lighters. Where do you want to hook it up? What are you trying to do? Is this something that's going to be a permanent install, or is it going to be a temporary? We even did one for a customer for a special application, 24-volt full bulldozer.
For a bulldozer, yeah, that's
that
right.
Gets used once or twice a year, but he wants it to start. So yeah, we made a, basically a portable one that he could lay out and connect to the dozer, and it would keep it charged when he wasn't using it.
And one thing we use it for, even around here at the shop, is we've got I would say a fleet of just our service vehicles that either the parts guy drives around, or us guys, out in the field drive those vehicles. Simply just plug it into the cigarette lighter, throw it up in the dash, and we don't have to worry about any of the parasitics killing those batteries. So solar has its place. Technology's come a long ways. 7-8 years ago, I was skeptical of it, but the technology's there.
Oh, it is. For the transportation, it's done wonders. I've got one fleet that they did a 6-month test, and in 6 months, comparing VRMS codes 31 and 32, even a single solar watt panel, they paid for themselves just by starters, alternators, batteries.
Yep.
Just in that first 6 months, and that doesn't count. No fleet that I know of ever tracks on the yard jump starts.
Nope.
Hey, go out there and jump start that truck. No one ever, keeps track of what that cost is, but it is a big cost. So it can pretty easily, pay for itself. And obviously fuel savings versus, the EPUs and APUs, how much can we reduce, either the engine having to start or an APU having to start to keep those batteries maintained.
Absolutely. So I'm going to turn it over to Larry to talk a little bit more about some of the kits he's been working on, the liftgate charging retrofit kits. Pretty awesome.
All righty. Thank you, Jimmy. All right. Why do you need a charging system? One of the biggest things is, and we all say liftgate, but it's auxiliary batteries on a trailer. Yeah. Yes, 99% of the time it's powered a liftgate, but I've got customers that have some of the new electric driven, also have food handlers or food distributors that may have air curtains, but a lot of things that need 12 volt on that trailer, or may even be a straight truck for that matter, but it's a separate dedicated battery. But if you look at the problem, anytime you have remote mounted batteries, there is a lot of cabling and a lot of connection that if you're relying on just the alternator on the truck to get back there, you're never going to get enough energy back to get those batteries charged. Plus, if you don't keep some separation, you run the risk of, no starts because the liftgate can kill the truck, which we got a solution for that too. But the whole idea of getting a proper, charging system on there is, hey, reduce road calls, extend battery life. That you talk to people with liftgates, if they don't run an actual charging system, they're so used to replacing batteries every 6 to 9 months, they just think that's how the world works.
Yep.
We actually have the other problem. We have people calling saying our system doesn't work, and go out there and find out the batteries are 7 years old and they just totally lost capacity. But again, too, just like anything, talking about solar or whatever, it's not a one size fits all. We always want to talk to the customer. What are you trying to do? What's your cycle? How many do you do a day? Do you operate, an 8-hour shift? Does that truck get used again at night by somebody else? Again, another good example of that is not just ask the fleet director or whatever, but also found go talk to drivers. I had a customer that's delivered a product to large retail stores. They hauled very heavy product. They thought that driver did like 12 liftgate cycles a day because they would drop off a pallet and they'd pick up a pallet. Well, when you talk to the driver, that wasn't quite the story. That after doing half of his day, he wound up with all these return pallets at the end of the trailer. So he would go to the parking lot and unload the entire trailer to put all the returns now at the front and the new product at the rear. Well, that wasn't 12 cycles a day anymore. No, so that definitely changes what you got to do and how much energy you got to put back in it.
Yeah. Weight plays a big role in it too. But we get a lot of calls, as far as what do I spec, and it's not just like Larry mentioned, it's not a simple answer. We really try to dig in and figure out how many cycles do you run, what's your routes look like, are they city routes, are they long haul, what kind of weight are you hauling?
Yeah, that may be one of those deals too that no matter what, a liftgate charging system by itself will never do it. Just you got some of the national coffee stores, the running joke is there was one inside one the other day or whatever, that they get no runtime. That's where, again, the solar can be a great complement. Mm-hmm. This is, hey, I got another charge source that's going to be able to charge them. Or even if I've got a deficiency over the week, the nice thing about solar is, hell, it can recover those batteries while it sits over the weekend, and it starts off the next week, back at 100%.
And the older kind of the theme of this whole presentation is the older the equipment is, the longer you hang on to it, the more and more these things become crucial.
Yeah. So again, talking about, retrofits, and people ask questions, hey, I got this, can I go to this? What am I going to have to do? Some of it is, again, some of our older systems, people that are familiar with us, way back we used to make TC kits. We call it a TC4 or TC5 or whatever. Obviously, those are all very old and gone.
I think we're up to 23 of them.
Something like that, yeah. And so that's where we made the direct and select, trying to cut down on a lot of that. But when we did it, again, I call on some of these beverage companies that have trailers that are 20 years old. They go, hey, what is this thing? I can't find any parts on it. So, dude, that's a TC7. We quit making that 12 years ago. Well, can I get parts? It's like, yeah, you can, but one is you start buying a couple of parts for that thing, Now you're almost half the cost of a new one. Plus, you got an odd duck in the fleet. Nobody's going to know how to work on this thing next week anyway. So hey, can we upgrade it? And so yes, you can. And it depends upon which one. But again, maybe a deal where, hey, I need to put a whole new system on it. Very easy to do. Most of the OEMs already are pre-drilled for our plate and everything. Makes it a pretty easy changeover. But one of the questions came up before too is, hey, I've got this new system. Can I possibly upgrade to something else? So if you look at the picture on the slide, you got the plate assembly. That's the same Purkeys liftgate charging systems. Doesn't matter if it's a select, a direct, or whatever. That's the same. But customer says, hey, I got the nose box of the older direct. Driver smashed it, used it as a step. Whatever. It's old. It's broke. I want to upgrade it. Well, we made it so you can very easily, since that plate is all the same, you can go from the old controller and a dual pole as two separate units. Hey, you can put this whole new nose box design on it. It's really no more work. It takes the two. It's a little bit more money, but again, you're updating the fleet. The other thing, this has an interior light controller built into it. Some more indicators, just a lot of ways you can kind of upgrade your fleet. And plus, that's probably what your new spec is anyway. So, why not move up to it? Well, then that started to think, wait a minute, what if I want to go one step further? Or, hey, this is an older system. I need a whole new kit. I still want to get to what my new trailers have. Can I buy the whole thing? Yes, you can. But again, one of the things I do want to stress, there's not necessarily a one answer fits all. Let us know what you do have, what you're trying to get to. But one customer I had has used dual pole for years, which dual pole's still our favorite, the best charging method, just because it's bigger cabling, it's always there. We can do what we call extend, where we even if the truck's not running, we can still charge liftgate batteries as long as they are a good state of charge. But one of the things I hear at fleets everywhere is drivers don't always plug in the dual pole.
Forget to plug them in.
Or my favorite is, takes too much horsepower when I plug in the dual pole, which never quite figured that one out. But says, hey, is there a way we could get a backup? Says, yeah. On the direct, you can easily go to a select, but just by changing the faceplate and adding another harness. And what that does will connect to the 7 ways, aux pin and ground that says, if that dual pole is not available, hey, we are going to charge off the aux pin. It's not as much because that's key activated, but still a lot better than nothing. So it makes it a very easy upgrade.
Yeah.
And you can go one step further, is if it is a reefer or a heater, that could be a third charging option too. So there's many ways you can do it. But again, on most of it, all you're going to do is change a faceplate.
One of the, just kind of add to all that, upgrading from an old to a new, you also gain a few other features. We were talking about TC kits earlier. All the logic and all the indications were all in the battery box where the driver couldn't see. So with this new, the newer upgraded system, all the LEDs are right there on the nose of the trailer. The driver can look back and you've got blinking red lights or blinking orange lights. On, let's say on the liftgate battery LED, they know that they're leaving. If they do leave, that they're leaving with a half-empty tank of fuel.
Yeah,
I mean,
and that was part of it. When we think about it all, when we went from the TCs and everything, one of the biggest drivers for it was we got to get more information to the driver or technician. So yeah, you can very easily look at the state of charge of the source and the state of charge of the batteries. One thing that I think fleets don't always do a good job that do run these systems even is, especially at early evening second shift, you stick your head out the door and you can look at the parking lots. Hey, is everything blinking green? Is it blinking amber? Hey, I got a problem. Maybe I got defective batteries, or whatever truck was pulling it had a deficiency. Wait a minute, I see no lights on it. There's,
it's not going to work.
Yeah, it's not going to work at all. It doesn't have power. It can't work. So, it's telling you. And when we talked about before about road calls, that's most fleets, if you're running the right, battery and normal, pickup delivery or whatever, there's generally enough energy in those 2 Group 31 batteries to last 3 or 4 days if our system didn't work.
Without a charge.
Yeah, if it, Monday, if it started off at 100% and everything was good, 2 minutes after the guard check, you blew a fuse and it quit working, there's still enough energy to last 3 to 4 days. So when they have a road call, something's been broke for several days and they just finally ran out of energy. Now there's obviously, caveats to that is, if the batteries are old, it's not the right type of batteries.
Mm-hmm.
People still want to run high CCA batteries, and that's the worst thing you could ever run in a liftgate. You need that reserve capacity and cycling ability. But still, the point I always make is, just because a fuse blew or whatever, you're not going to have a road call that day. That's several days of energy that you finally just ran out. Just like a driver doesn't, run out of fuel at his third stop. It's like, well, because he left the yard or whatever out of fuel. Then again, too, if you do have older systems, there are ways to upgrade these. These are, again, they're just some of the common ones, off the shelf. But we are always happy to look at, what have you bought in the past? What is the right replacement for it? Is there a way to, to upgrade it? We even have, offerings on some of these systems where, hey, if your old converter is still good, there's a kit that just comes without the converter, saves a big chunk of that money.
Yeah, blank plate, basically just.
Yeah, you just swap the converter over, which is good and bad. The only thing is that we'd much rather sell you a complete kit. That way the whole system has our 3-year unlimited mileage warranty. If you, put in a used component, and now it's not really a whole system and it doesn't fall under that same 3-year warranty. Plus, take the old one, keep it, put it on the shelf as a spare for something else.
Yep.
Next, I'm turning it back over to Jimmy and talk about some of our different cable kits we've done.
All righty. Thank you, Larry. So we've talked about, a lot of the charging upgrades that you can do, solar, liftgate charging. One of the things that typically gets neglected, all your cabling, you got to be able to deliver that power from the batteries, to the device or the charging system, the solar, all those devices. On the tractor side, you got to be able to crank the engine. The alternator's got to be able to charge those batteries, and that's all done through the cables. So we do offer some upgrade options as far as cabling goes. So the BPS retrofit kit, BPS stands for bypass system, and it's used for our liftgate charging system. So say you already have a liftgate, a Purkeys liftgate charging system. That trailer's aged quite a bit. You're holding on to it a lot longer. What if something were to happen to that, that system? Bad cabling from the front to the back, the controller, for some reason stopped working. It's experienced a lot of road calls and it's been hacked up. This BPS 40 is a pretty simple upgrade option to where you can give the operator or the driver the option to swap it from the Purkeys system over to basically the traditional way of charging liftgate batteries, which is, the direct connection from the tractor to the liftgate batteries, the dual pole circuit.
And this was originally done for a customer who says, hey, we love your system, but what if?
What if, yeah.
So we made it for that, as a backup. But what we've actually found it gets used for more than anything is, with our system, you keep those 2 liftgate batteries at a, high state of charge. Not that a driver would ever, pull in and leave key on, headlights on, whatever, and runs the tractor batteries down. This would actually give them the ability, they could flip it to 2 and let those 2 liftgate batteries actually backfeed to help jumpstart the truck.
Start the truck, yeah.
Now, if the truck's hammer dead, it ain't going to do it, but it has saved many, road calls by being able to put that energy back in. Now, the only thing they got to do is make sure they remember, as soon as you're done, flip it back to 1.
And the reason for that, can't count how many times where they did actually leave it in 2, but again, like Larry was mentioning earlier, the old traditional way, you've got that long distance those cables have to travel. Once the truck batteries and the liftgate batteries equalize, that's where your current really tapers off and you're never getting those batteries to 100%. But this is a really good kit to get you out of that pinch and hopefully prevent a road call, get that gate off the ground. That's the same slide. So another one that we came up with, and it's really kind of taken off. I can't count how many times, almost weekly, I go and, either do training, inspecting, battery boxes, liftgate battery boxes, and they get neglected pretty often.
Out of sight, out of mind for sure.
Yeah. So whether there's dirt and grime build up everywhere, one of the bigger things is, picking up power off those batteries, and they're just picking it up wherever they can. It really creates a cluster inside that battery box, and it's just hard to maintain. We designed these cables here to really clean up that battery box. Right now, it's designed for the new plastic Maxon battery box, but it's not limited to that.
No, and based on again, a customer's wants. This was really done for one customer to begin with, but it is catching on and getting a lot of interest. That they've got just interior lights, telematics, all kinds of things being connected to those liftgate batteries. And it's bad enough when their own technicians have to work on it.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's at an outside vendor on the side of the road, we found many times things don't get wired up correctly. Things get left off. Wires fall back behind the batteries. You just wind up with a terrible stack up with lots of connections on the batteries. So this was designed to replace it all with one cable. Makes it much heavier duty, much cleaner. If you do need to service the batteries, the neat thing is you just take the nuts off and the cables actually just kind of raise them up and are out of your way. But it also comes with junction studs, so all those other ancillary devices get moved and connected over there. So you don't have to worry about things getting left off or whatever. Plus, gets them off the battery, they're a lot less prone to being corroded and damaged.
Yeah, and I know when I'm looking inside of liftgate battery box and I just see a big cluster, I'm hesitant to even work on it.
Oh yeah, it's where does it go?
Yeah.
When people have tendency to use all black wire or whatever. It's like, are you sure this is supposed to be a positive?
Yeah. So this is a really simple way for you to really clean up that battery box. Hopefully it'll help technicians want to really just care more and help provide better maintenance inside that liftgate battery box.
And one thing that I found that when we do them and do training on it is, hey, when you do this, do it during a trailer PM. You got to bring it in. You got to test the batteries anyway. It's a good time to do it. But while you're doing it, it's a good time to look at all those other things in there. We've done a liftgate preventive maintenance webinar before, and one of the things is all the terminations that were in there, were they done properly? Mm-hmm. Not just when the trailer was first built. Sometimes they don't always do it. We provide terminals, they don't always use them. Use the wrong type of crimpers, you wind up with exposed connections. Wrong size terminals, people drill things out, or to put a 3/8 eyelet on a 5/16 stud, just all kinds of crazy things. Butt connectors, damage. It's just a good time to go through that whole battery box. Hey, has everything got a fuse holder, got fuse protection on it? Does it have the right eyelets? Are they good? Are they solid? Just go through the whole thing, and that'll take care of so many breakdowns that are just looking for a place to happen.
Yep.
And honestly, it's prevents thermal events, things we don't want to talk about. But you see all kinds of wires that are chafing and rubbing against things that it just gets a little scary. So it's a good time to put your stick in the mud and, hey, we're going to do this and fix all these things as we go.
Yeah. So same thing. We talked about the bypass system and then those battery cleanup cables. We've got a kit that kind of combines those two. So it all, if you do have the 1-2 switch inside the battery box, it all ties in as one kit, and really provides a really nice, clean setup, easy to work on, easy to see, like Larry was saying, easy to see where all your power wires and ground wires are inside that battery box. So now I'm going to turn it over to Larry to talk about the battery box retrofit kits that he came up with.
All righty. Thank you, Jimmy. And this was, again, brought by a customer that had a need. That's either they had the older liftgate battery boxes that, say 10 years ago. If you look at, current spec with the new plate assembly and everything, it don't even fit in there.
Yeah.
Or, hey, trailer's been wrecked. Driver, took out a yellow pole. The battery box is destroyed. So they're saying, well, I got to order a box, I got to order a frame, I got to order this, I got to order that. Says, hey, why don't we make a kit that one part number gives you everything you need? And so we actually did a couple different styles of it. That kind of shows what it looks like. But we take the OEM battery box and frame, depending upon what the customer spec is. One is the plate assembly. That's standard, like we said before. That doesn't matter which system it is. But we go ahead and pre-mount that. We can add the status, which we're going to talk about a minute from now. It has the new battery cable design in it. The BPS is already mounted. Everything that you need, it's already pre-assembled.
One part number.
As much as you can, one part number order gets you everything. The only thing we don't include is batteries, just because the hazmat is shipping them. Plus, we don't want to carry 27 different batteries because, one fleet wants this, another fleet wants that. But it gave the ability to, again, one part number. It's already all bench assembled as much as it can be, but it also comes with the new nose box, depending upon whether it's a select, a direct, or whatever. We've got a couple different ones. This one's a trailer that we're showing right now. And also we made one that's a straight truck. It's got a different charging system instead of a select. This would have our direct 04, where the input just goes straight to the tractor batteries. And again, these can be configured whatever. It says, hey, I want this, this, and this, but I don't need this or that. And we make it, to that customer's needs. So again, whether damage or update, allows you to do it all and at a very reasonable price to get it all done at once.
So in a sense, really, it's all bolt-on stuff.
Yeah,
we've done all the pre-assembly. It's just bolting everything together.
Yeah, and the hardest part about it is drilling the cross members for the mounting brackets that are included. A good right angle drill is a wonderful thing.
Yes, it is. All right, thank you, Larry, for that. So gonna dive into another product that we offer. Again, it's about opportunity charging. A lot of fleets are running electric pallet jacks these days, and we have a product that we developed a while back to help keep those pallet jacks charged. These kits allow the trailers to not have to be able to plug into shore power, plug into at the building to keep those pallet jacks charged. Also comes with the addition of solar. So two products that, again, opportunity charging. Some of the benefits of why fleets are moving to electric pallet jacks, allows for expanded driver pool. It doesn't take a whole lot of effort to move a super heavy pallet around with an electric pallet jack, where as a manual option, it's a little tough to move around. So you can load and unload more efficiently. But more importantly is, are you keeping those batteries charged in that pallet jack? Typically, they're all 24-volt batteries. If you're charging it in a building, it requires a special charger. But more often than not, what we see, if that charger's humming and buzzing, it's charging. Nobody really pays too much attention to the actual state of charge of those batteries. So oftentimes they become discharged. Must be removed from the trailer to the warehouse to actually charge. Ties up a ton of warehouse space. You can see in the picture here how much, how big those chargers are, and they just really tie up a lot of space. So if you can move all that to the trailer, keep them charged in the trailer, frees up a lot of space for you.
Yeah, not having a dead pallet jack, because one thing, we had a customer that, kind of brought this on years ago, is when a pallet jack dies, it doesn't move.
It does not move.
Some of them have now made a release for it, but basically they set their brakes and you got to hook up the 4-wheel drive pickup and drag it out of somewhere. So, drivers are having to carry extension cords, plug it in at a, delivery or whatever, trying to get enough energy to at least get it out of the way. But as Jimmy said, a lot of those are 24-volt, maybe a big bank. A lot of them used to just use 4 6-volt batteries. One thing, when you use 4 6 volts in series like that, if one of them goes bad, you got to replace all 4 of them. So it gets very expensive. A lot of fleets have gone to lithium, things like that. Those are very expensive batteries and have always had a very short life because they've never gotten charged properly. Even if they bring them in the warehouse, and do due diligence, I've been in enough warehouses, you'll see a driver, park it on the charger to plug it in. One of the warehouse guys runs and grabs it, so he uses it all night, and driver thinks he got it charged. No, but basically it's plugged in 20 minutes over the course of the night because warehouse wind up using it.
Yeah.
And talking about the square footage, you got a customer, one of their biggest pushes by being able to do it inside the trailer, they freed up 10,000 square foot of space.
Yep.
That's one thing about, COVID's been very good. Still seeing the effects of it is, the amount of beverage things people, buy for home use versus, going out or whatever. It has increased the sales of a lot of stuff. And, warehouse space is a premium.
Yes, it is. But I mean, kind of focusing on electric pallet jacks and charging them. We've had fleets that use this for other things too. Basically, we're taking DC voltage and turning it into AC output voltage, like inside your house. So we've got fleets using it for other things other than just charging pallet jacks. So, but again, the key word is in all of this is opportunity charging. Make sure that you extending the life of those 24-volt batteries. They're not cheap, but really what this system does is it's not a charger per se. It basically just allows that driver to plug in to utilize the built-in charger on that pallet jack. I think you were taking this one, Larry.
Yeah, this again goes back to custom kits we did. Have a customer that's doing a lot of retrofits and even gone one step further and has us put on brand new trailers. One of the things we wanted was to make sure we were consistent as possible. That you get 27 different installers or OEMs or whatever, things could wind up all over the map. So we went through and made a kit for this. And again, this is the taps and solar in one kit. One part number gives you everything. Other than we can't put the technician in the box, but does give you the taps. It was designed for their liftgate OEM. Gives a very clean, easy way to mount it. There's most of the holes are already pre-drilled. You hang it, boom, put a couple bolts in it, drill 2 holes, put 2 more bolts in, hang the box. The cables are already cut to length. Everything is there to make it a one part number, one stop shop to be able to do everything they wanted to. And again, that's one customer's need that we put that in there for them, but we can make those in different configurations.
Yeah. We just need to know what you need.
Yeah. What big thing on all this, and here's some different examples, but it's just got different configurations what somebody needs. Even one step further says, hey, I need everything. This trailer was wrecked and I put a new gate on it, but I need everything. Says, hey, it's there. So again, whether it's got status, battery cables, and we're mainly talking about one OEM right now, but the same thing can be done for any of them. Mm-hmm. Whether it's brackets or cable kits, whatever, what do we need to make it a one-stop shop for you to make it an easy retro? How can we cut it down to make it as quick and easy for your people to install it?
And how can we take out all the the common errors that possibly the installer is going to do? We do it all here in house. So.
I'm amazed that go out and visit and the number of installers that doesn't even have a good set of cable crimpers. You're putting together one welding cable and putting good ends on everything, and they're using a hammer or whatever, a pair of chisels or pliers and a chisel, whatever, trying to make these connections. Like, guys, this thing's going to be on here for 12 years at least. How can we fix that? So a lot of that is what can we do in house.
All right, thank you for that, Larry. So we've talked a lot about charging batteries and a lot of the retrofit kits. Probably one of the easiest devices that we have to install would be our status. And really, it's just designed to provide you, at a glance, what are those batteries doing? Where are they at? What state of charge are they? So this is a really cool device. We've in the past few years, we've upgraded it. The earlier model just gave an LED because that's what we thought that's all they needed was just an LED, you know, green good, you know, amber. They need to do something. But we've recently added into this device, it actually gives you a voltage. So, you know, I know when we take tech calls, that's the first thing we ask for is what are the voltages?
Good.
Good. That's usually what we get. Oh, it's 12-volt battery. It's 12 volts. So this is a really simple. It's a power and ground. You know, for a liftgate application, you can just bolt it to the outside of the battery box. It's not limited to just the liftgate batteries. You know, we can put it at the front of the trailer. We can, you know, really it's just giving you an indication of any battery. Uses a screen to show you a numeric battery voltage. We also kept the original LED. It's sitting right above the screen. That does also give you an LED indication of the state of health of that
Actually, we got
battery.
that on the next slide, I believe, that shows.
Yeah. It's actually the next slide after that, I believe. But key features: eliminates the battery state of charge uncertainty. So just at a quick glance, I know what my batteries are doing. You know, very robust enclosure, designed for the elements, and you know, easy to read indicators. This just shows you what it displays. So the picture on the left there, my liftgate batteries they must be charging. They're at 14 volts, and I got a green indicator. The one on the right there shows those batteries at 11.5 volts. They're hammer dead, and it's gonna show you a red indicator. It also goes into a sleep mode, so you know, this thing pulls milliamps. It would take a long time for it to actually kill the battery, but we don't, you know, anything we design, we
don't want to be part of the problem.
No, we don't want to add to it. So we will go into a sleep mode to limit the amount of current we're pulling from these batteries. But very simple, you know, power and ground connection to the batteries, bolt it to the battery box. Everything the kit already comes with all the eyelets and everything, the fuse protection, just very simple, quick add-on. So another device that we've recently we're still working on, and I think it would really play a big role in, especially today where we are holding on to equipment longer, is our Sentinel product. It's our low voltage, basically a low voltage disconnect, for a liftgate application on like a straight truck. Typically it's going to be on a straight truck application with auxiliary batteries. Over time the cables are going to age, the batteries are going to age, and the risk of more frequent jump starts is going to come into play. So we have came up with a device to help protect against that, and that's our Sentinel LVD. There's lots of LVDs out there on the market. We even have one that's does a lot of the similar things that this one does, but it doesn't tell you anything. And what we've seen over the years is, well, it's done its job. It's disabled the liftgate. I'm going to go find that device and remove it or wire around it.
Yeah,
So
their first reaction is it's broke.
it's broke.
So yeah, rather than, oh, wait a minute, it's just simply low battery voltage, start the truck, their first thing is they want to bypass it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the huge one Jimmy's talking about is, add the text that actually tells the driver what's happening. It even gives them a warning before it happens.
Yeah. So this device is designed to mount, somewhere close to the pump motors on that straight truck, the pump motors for the liftgate. And it simply disables the use of the liftgate when the batteries reach a low state of charge. It'll automatically, it does that all automatically, and it'll reactivate the liftgate once the batteries are recharged or when you start that truck. And it'll actually display on the screen there, batteries have been disconnected, start the truck. That should be common sense, but
yeah, common sense may not always be very common.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just a very very intuitive device that will protect the batteries, prevent jump starts. It'll actually show you the amount of LVD events. So if this, you can go in a screen and look to see how many times it actually disabled the liftgate. If you're seeing multiple times, you probably want to do something to prevent that from happening.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things. Is going to comment that this has been one of Jimmy's babies and spent a lot of time helping design this. But yeah, that history is huge.
Mm-hmm.
That, you know, if it happens once every other week or something, that's one thing. When a driver says, well, it happens all the time, it's like, wait a minute, let's go look. So yeah, you're right. In the last 2 weeks, it's done it 20 times or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, do I have weak batteries? Do I have a bad charging system? You know, am I doing 8,000, you know, cycles? And there's no way I can put enough energy back in these batteries. I got to do something else. But yeah, it actually tells you how many times has it happened.
Mm-hmm. And one of the, you know, kind of go back to, we listen to our customers and what they want. We added another feature to this Sentinel LVD is we give you an override feature. So say in the event the gate's stuck on the ground, common sense should tell you to go start the truck. But we do give you a button that you can press. You can only do it one time, but allows you to override that LVD and stow that gate, get that gate off the ground and stowed. You're allowed 60 seconds. Once that 60 seconds is up, it's not going to allow you to hit the button again and keep repeating, because again, that'll be defeating the purpose.
And that's huge, because yeah, if you're in a, you know, maybe a sketchy part of town or whatever, it's like, well, I got the cab locked. I really don't want to leave this thing open.
Yeah.
And you know, have somebody run up and steal product out of the back of it, or you know, whether it's up or down, you know, maybe an HR thing that, hey, it's up and it locked out because of low voltage. I may have to run it down to get out. You don't want someone jumping off of a gate. So there's many reasons that override can play a part for safety and just, you know, efficiency of the operation of that vehicle.
And we also added some other configurable features inside of it. You know, what if we want to lower or raise that set point? There's a few different settings in there, you know, 12.2, 11.9, I believe. But we can make it configurable all there right on the screen. So it really just to fit the fleet's needs. But again, the overall goal is to, again, protect those batteries from severe discharge. So yeah, I'm gonna turn it over to Larry to talk about trailer shore power kits.
Yeah, we're gonna have to talk fast. I was worried this could be a short one, and we're wound up talking the whole time. But shore power, you know, it's the opposite of the EPJ, you know, onboard charging. This was done for, you know, a couple different fleets. Is, hey, we do have electrified parking lots. You know, we want to be able to plug in the trailer and charge the pallet jack on that. This is much more, you know, really the core of retrofit. You know, location's already started with it, has it, but they got a couple new trailers, or it's been damaged and I need replacement. But it gives everything to do the shore power connections. It beats all the TMC standards. It's orange to denote higher voltage. Gives all the you know, outlet boxes and everything. Again, really only existing ones that just need replacement, updating, you know, some oddball trailers or something.
Yeah. So another thing, maintenance is going to be, you know, huge when we talk about holding on to equipment longer. We also make test adapters. So, you know, we're very heavily involved in TMC, Technology and Maintenance Council, and you can actually find a really good RP 179.
Mm-hmm. I helped write that one.
Yeah. That really kind of gives you diagrams for all these test adapters that we make. But we just trying to make it as easy as possible. This is a device, this is an adapter we made to use your electronic tester, battery tester, and be able to test the tractor side. You know, do voltage drop checks on the tractor side. You know, you plug in your cables, your single pole, your dual pole, connect your ground clip, and then there at the bottom you see the little opening where you can clamp on your power and ground from your automatic tester and do a load check on the tractor circuit.
Yeah, because whether it's you're doing retrofits or whatever, all these things, you still got to test it, make sure it's right.
Yeah. So this is another an adapter that we make for the trailer side. No, this is for the tractor side. It's our dual pole dual pole test adapter. Again, we give you the dual pole plug to plug into the socket of the dual pole receptacle on the truck, and then just give you easy lead post adapters to clip on your meter leads or your tester leads. When it comes to liftgate charging, this device has been super handy. We actually didn't intend to market this one.
No, it's meant to be an in-house thing.
Yeah. We're always out, diagnosing or looking at equipment, and it's always tough for us to get a tractor. So we made this device to where we can use our real cars, or you can use it on use your service vehicle at your shop and be able to properly test that liftgate charging system and diagnose an issue with it. Basically, think of this as a glorified stinger cord,
yes.
Whether it be a 7-way, dual pole, single pole. It allows you to power up that liftgate charging system and check for proper operation. On the flip side, you can turn this device around, and we have what's called a 20 amp applied load, and we can do a quick voltage drop check on the tractor side, either through the dual pole. Biggest thing is the 7-way cord. We can pull that 20 amps through that cord and look at our voltages. We can put a voltmeter on this and just see if that really kind of verify if that tractor is going to supply enough power to power up that Purkeys liftgate charging system.
Yeah, if you're familiar with our systems, that if you ever get a low voltage, it shuts off in milliseconds. Basically, it shuts off so fast that you'll never see it with a digital voltmeter, and people have a hard time troubleshooting it. So with this, it uses that fixed load, and it's on its own little timer, so it's only going to work for 6-7 seconds, something like that, very short period of time, but enough to do that voltage drop and says, ooh, you got some healthy resistance in your 7-way or dual pole. Again, like Jimmy said, more often than not, it's a 7-way, smaller cable, everything, but allows you to check and say, hey, can it support this? If not, hey, I can go back through and I can use the adapters or whatever and do a voltage drop on it all. And this is very important too. We're using the aux pin, same as ABS, rollover stability, all those things. And that's why we drop out so fast. Is anything that's safety related has precedence over us. So if it can't support us, we drop.
Yeah.
But if that happens, okay, what is my problem? Do I have a bad 7-way? Do I have a bad repair? Do I have bad connections inside the 7-way on the front of the trailer? It doesn't know, doesn't care. It says, hey, when the load was applied, voltage couldn't be supported, to do its job.
Yeah, we got to get power from somewhere for our liftgate charging system. If it's not working, a lot of times the fleet will say, "Oh, it's your charging system."
And that was the nice thing why we did this is you can take a truck out of the equation.
Yeah.
Between just troubleshooting, say I can get my my Nissan and plug it up there, and hey, I can plug it in and know it works. Just to hey, it's not a truck issue, or may have been, but we know if you give it good power, it does work.
Yeah.
The other thing, like Jimmy was talking about, is when we do pilots or whatever, we can go to a location that's hanging 30 gates for somebody, and we can go down the row and check trailer after trailer after trailer in a matter of minutes and make sure the system works.
Yeah.
Last thing we're going to talk about, again, this was something asked, certain customer asked for it, and kind of came from also too. You visit somewhere, say you have a bad this, whether it's a connector or a post. One of the things that just makes Jimmy and I cringe whenever we go with installers is the use of power tools. These are all insulated studs. Were never designed for someone to put their impact on them, and if they bust them loose, you're gonna have to replace them.
Yep.
Yeah, people were buying entire systems or entire plates or whatever because they needed a stud. So wait a minute, we got to figure out a way to make this easier for people to have the parts. So we made drawer kits. Everybody's got nut and bolt suppliers, whatever. So we use a standard drawer that fits those racks. Or if you don't have any extra spaces, we got the racks too, but we're not in the rack business, but we're in a way, in the business to make sure, do you have the parts available, on hand to be able to, fix these things? That don't buy a, a $400, plate assembly because you need a $3 stud.
Right.
And some of the things that are corny too is, there's 2 amp fuses on here. It's like, well, don't they have 2 amp fuses? A lot of times they don't.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you do, hey, use them out of your other supply, but at least you have them. Then we made it in order form too. Says, hey, when you do use it, you have to replace it.
Yeah, use a part out of it, replace that part.
And so these, again, examples we did for one customer that runs several different products, but they have everything. But, if you use a select or a direct or whatever, and it's something that may be of interest to you, we can make custom ones for you as well. But our whole thing is, put it in your hands so it's available and easy for you to use.
Time is money, so the quicker you can get it back up and going, the better off you're going to be. So.
Oh yeah, and that's the whole thing on all these things is, we did not want this to seem like a salesy presentation by any means. But fleets have had needs of voice things. So one of the big things, just want to educate people on some of these products that exist that people didn't realize. And also, hey, what is your gas pains? What keeps you all up at night? What can we do to help you to either upgrade or standardize, or just even training in parts availability? People say, I didn't know we could order parts from you. Yeah, I mean, there's no thing, nothing says you can't.
Right.
Some customers say, hey, we have to buy everything through XYZ because of a program or whatever. We'll do whatever we have to, but our thing at the end of the day is, how can we keep your fleet on the road? So that is really the last slide. I do have a couple questions came up. But one thing is, before you sign off, we do ask that you stay. There's always a little bit of a survey afterwards. One is, what did you think of this? Do you have ideas on other presentations we could do?
Or challenge us with some of the stuff we talked about. Is if there's something on here that doesn't quite fit your needs, challenge us. Let us, send us those thoughts, and maybe it's something we can do to help you out with.
Yeah, and one of the questions came up was, about doing pilots. If you're having new trailers built or new trucks built or whatever, please call us, invite us. We would love to go to your pilots. We would much rather go and make sure everything gets installed right. It's the right spec. It's what you wanted. Everything works. Look at it. Hey, someone needs to address that because, history says that's going to be a failure. Maybe not today, but it's going to be a failure. You need to address it now. Mm-hmm. So yes, please invite us. Now, there's some installers we've known for years. So, you're having them do it? Yeah, I'll still go, but I'm not sure why you need me, because they're very good. Or, hey, I've never even heard of them. Yeah, let's go.
Let's go there.
The only thing we ever ask is we'd like for the fleet to be there too, because no matter what, at times if we show up, we're just a pesky vendor, and we can make suggestions, and 5 minutes later, okay, go back to the way how we're doing it. But even in some of our kits, is we want that input. Says, ooh, why don't you include this kit? Never thought about it. Yeah, that's something that should be in there. Someone asked about some pricing. We never like to talk pricing on webinars. One is, there's many different customers, whether it's an end fleet or whatever. Just don't like to discuss it. Plus, again, there's not really a one size fits all for those questions.
But we will get that to you.
So yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to type them in right now. I will follow up with some of you that have keyed in some things here. And you will also get the link to the recording tomorrow afternoon. So we do thank you for being here, and please let us know any comments.
Thank you very much.